Hi, welcome to C-Suite Scale, where executive minds unpack the real stories behind business growth. I'm joined by Ilya Rubinshteyn, who is the president and COO of Aegis IT. Welcome, Ilya. How are you?
Hey, how are
Very good, very good. So excited to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
you? I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you.
Very good. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and Aegis IT.
So, I've launched Aegis in 2015 when I moved to South Florida. Originally, we launched it as a company to help SaaS organizations maintain compliance. We found that there were a lot of challenges with, especially SaaS startups, dealing in regulated industries, so like hospitals, fintech, and the requirements are the same whether you're small or large. The resources are very, very different. And then from that, we developed into a fully fledged managed cybersecurity services provider, and then also added managed services to our offerings as well.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, managed services, that's a really great area to be in. Talk to me a little bit about the journey and how you pivoted from one thing to the next and expanded.
So I've been working as an IT consultant since Y2K, right?
Okay.
Various industries, various size organizations. Being an MSP is amazing, but it's almost like being a doctor or a mechanic. The less people see you, the happier they are. So it gets, it's great, but it gets a little bit tiring. And I got into cybersecurity in the late 2000s. The company I was working with was working with PwC on that's just when Sarbanes-Oxley came out, when HIPAA was starting to come out, when privacy regulations were starting to come out, and we were learning them, auditing against them, and it kind of went from there.
Okay, awesome. And when you first started the company, how did your vision come about?
It's a great question. I think the driver was that I had some friends in Massachusetts that were developers,
Hmm.
and they had a couple of startups, and they're like, "Well, we're trying to sell to this organization,
Hmm.
but they're asking me all these questions, and they ask me to have all these things, and I
Hmm.
have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
My product works, but they want all these things in it, and I don't know if I can provide them, if I can do them. Does it make sense for me to do them?"
Hmm.
And fast forward 10 years, people still have the same questions.
It's a very complex space.
It is, especially in the United States. We have clients in Europe, and in Europe you have GDPR, and then you have um, nationally mandated cybersecurity guidelines. In US, it's a free-for-all. We have agency level guidelines, state level guidelines.
Hmm.
The city of Chicago has its own guidelines that are very separate, and it's a nightmare.
A nightmare. How do you stay up to date with all of it?
A lot of reading, a lot of reading. We partner up with several law firms that do focus on cybersecurity and compliance regulations.
Hmm.
So we talk a lot with them. There are a ton of webinars that give you a digest. I
Hmm.
think part of it is because we've been doing this for a very long time. At this point, it's keeping up with the changes
Hmm.
and not learning it anew. But just to give you an example, when my guys start, it takes them about 12 to 18 months of learning just to catch up with most of the things we're doing.
Wow. And are
Eh,
those the developers or more people on the sales team?
These are more people. So we don't really do our own development. We provide services and we support other organizations.
Hmm.
Um, Sales guys and security and support engineers.
Hmm.
The ramp up time for everything can be very significant.
Yeah, I can
And it's
definitely.
continuous learning. It's absolutely continuous learning.
Yeah. Absolutely. Are there's you said there's solution engineers as well?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure that they are very critical in your business and making sure that the technical aspects are all gathered.
I think the more critical part is understanding the business requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I've learned is that when a customer comes to you looking for a technical solution,
Mm-hmm.
they don't fully understand the impact.
Mm-hmm.
They don't fully understand what it means for the business. We've had a lot of situations when, a client would come in and say, I want to be in the cloud. And we're like, well, do you understand the ramifications, the costs, the changes in processes, changes to your culture?
Mm-hmm.
And when we break it down, sometimes it works,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to do an intermediary step, and the process very rarely takes anywhere as little time as they think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also to implement, clients come to us and say, we want to be ISO compliant, SOC 2 compliant, HIPAA compliant. And the first question we ask is why? And they look at us very quizzically and we're like, well, if it's going to drive your revenue, then absolutely do it.
Mm-hmm.
But given the costs and the effort associated,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't need it, you don't need it. Being secure is a great thing,
Mm-hmm.
but aligning yourself with the standard and getting certified in it is a very different ballgame.
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of education as well is involved in this.
Every with From our marketing perspective, I think 95% is educational.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really sell. We say, okay, we like everything we do is do this, not that. Be aware of this. This is how things work. It's very consultational. It's very educational. Every time we get on the phone with a potential client, they learn something from the conversation
Right.
that they haven't even considered.
Absolutely. I mean, that's still very valuable. I mean, even if they call in expecting one thing and expecting something to be an easy ask, you educate them on how it's not easy. They walk away with something that gives them a lot of value as far as the information.
I believe so. And the way I look at it is when you're a provider, there are two types of relationships you can have with the client. You
Mm-hmm.
can be It's either a client vendor or a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And I would much rather be a partner than just another vendor because it's a closer relationship. Frankly, it's a stickier relationship
Mm-hmm.
and you can scale and grow together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are a lot of MSPs out there. What's your competitive differentiator?
We are hyper focused on security and compliance. And then from that perspective, we're also focused on certain types of compliance. So we focus on SOC 2, which is for companies that host other people's data. We focus on HIPAA, and then we focus on financial compliance. So FTC, CFTC, those types of things.
Okay, very good. And what kind of companies would you say that you mainly support?
Well, it depends, right? So we have our client base is very varied. Our smallest client is a two-person accounting firm in Pennsylvania. Our largest client is a multinational financial organization
Mhm.
and everything in between. We focus primarily on companies that are either in professional services or companies that they have some sort of compliance requirements, primarily fintech and SaaS, and companies that require compliance, like auto groups, for example, is one of our major verticals, because people don't realize how much compliance work and security work is done within automotive industry.
I wouldn't have thought, honestly, but you're the expert. When I think of automotive industry, I that's probably something that is in my limited perception, something that's pretty low compliance.
Well, think about it. When you go to buy a car,
Hmm.
what is the first thing you do? You give them your license.
Oh, okay. I see. Uh-huh.
So, and by the time you're done with it, they have your license, your social, they know all your financial information, they know your
Yep.
address, they know everything. They have everything.
Uh-huh.
And it's not a then the financially the numbers that exchange hands, they're pretty high. We're
Mhm.
talking tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. So
Yeah.
yeah, there is a lot of personal information, a lot of health information.
That makes sense. I wasn't putting that perspective on it, but yeah, you put it that way. I'm like, okay, they know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, awesome. Well, you've been around for a little bit. Talk to me about how you've strategized in growing the company and what's worked, what hasn't worked.
So the the biggest lesson I've learned is that you either once you go when you grow a company, you have to understand that at some point you stop doing what you love and you start running a company. I
Mhm.
love IT. I love anything with computers. I love networking. I used to I used to take apart motherboards because it just calmed me down.
Uh-huh.
I can no longer do that. I have to run, I have people that depend on me, I have clients that depend on me. I have to run a company. So, marketing, operation strategy, things of that nature. The We've made several pivots with Aegis over the years. Like I said, originally only working with healthcare focused SaaS companies. We pivoted into doing project-based work for other organizations, and then which then pivoted into providing cybersecurity compliance services
Mhm.
for brick and mortar
Yeah.
companies, and
Yeah.
then and growing the MSSP side.
Mhm.
And then about 5, 6 years ago, we started in earnest offering managed services because we were leaving a lot of things on the table and we were putting ourselves at risk of losing clients,
Mhm.
not because the incumbent was better, but simply because they could have provided more. And because we deal with SMBs really like that whole one neck to choke scenario. To
Mhm.
them, they don't differentiate. To them, IT is IT. So, and at every juncture, there are their own challenges,
Mhm.
and how we approach things is, I think, different from most companies. But it works for us. It works for our clients, and we've been fairly successful.
Good, good. I love that. And so, how are you going about finding new clients? What kind of channels do you use for that growth?
Um, so a lot of things. So we do a lot of social media posting. We go to conferences, to trade shows. We go, a lot of referral business. We have business coming in through our website. We uh, we do a lot of support for local organizations.
Mhm.
It really truly runs the gamut. One thing I've learned about marketing is that while you can be more successful with one vector than something else,
Mhm.
in reality, it needs to be very holistic.
Mm.
And you never know what is going to hit when. We've had situations where we've done cold calling for a few years, complete outbound, and then we had clients. We've stopped doing that about, I think, in 23, and now we have clients coming in that apparently we've reached out to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and now they're in.
Yeah,
So you just never know.
you don't. You don't. It's right place, right time.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talk to me a little bit about, a time that you've had to maybe pivot from the original plan and it's led to continued success for your company.
It wasn't so much as pivot from the original plan as much as kind of going a little bit back to our original roots. So
Mhm.
when COVID happened, right,
Mhm.
and there was this huge push to remote work and this huge push to getting things in the cloud data centers and whatnot, this was the original plan for me. And when it started happening, we were able to pivot right away. And a lot of the work that we've done is working with other MSPs, helping them provide secured access to their clients.
Mhm.
because we could just turn it around and do it better and faster.
Mhm.
And because we do it faster, it costs us less. And then that got us more exposure. And even though it was one of those, one step back and then three steps forward.
Mhm. Yeah. That's definitely a good way to look at it. Absolutely. And speed is everything in this day and age, making sure that you're turning around something quicker, and then also having it save you costs. It sounds like a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting situations happened with one of our clients about a year and a half ago where we need to do something for them with AWS, right? And on the surface, their outsourced company in uh, somewhere outside of the US was charging them, I think, 20%
Mhm.
of what we were charging them based on the hourly cost. But then when they did the proposal and they looked at the number of hours, we ended up being like half as much as what they were charging. And the client was dumbfounded. They were like, "How does this happen?
Right.
You guys are 5 times as expensive coming in, and you guys cost me half as much coming out." So,
Mhm. Yeah, that is interesting. Um, let's pivot a little bit and talk about just the changing landscape within the cybersecurity industry. So, talk to me about major trends shaping the market, especially how AI is impacting the market.
so AI is it's a paradigm shift, right? AI has been around for a while. It's been called different things, right? It's been, you had machine learning, and then now you have, full artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
The thing that people do not understand about AI is that it's a tool.
Mhm.
It will do 80% of the thing for you. It
Mhm.
really will. 20% you got to do yourself. But we use AI heavily on a lot of different ends. We do it for penetration testing, we do it for security,
Mhm.
for analysis, but AI is still very nascent in its
Mhm.
development. And you have to really keep an eye on it. You're not going to hire an intern, give them a major project and tell them run with it. You're going to keep an eye on them. It's the same concept. It does help. It does help you do a lot of things.
Mhm.
It does help you do a lot of things better, but it's not a panacea. Um, However, what we are seeing are with our clients are more sophisticated attacks. We are seeing that things that were considered a lower criticality because of the skill level required to compromise the vulnerability, that's that bar for entry is a lot lower.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and she wants to get her degree in computer science, and I'm like, no, don't bother. Focus on AI. Focus on that, learn that, and then go from there.
Mhm. Yeah, you said something really important there. I saw personally a post saying what the projected top 10 careers were for new graduates, or I guess people going into college. And what I read was a lot of the careers that make us a lot of money now weren't on there. It was a lot of developers, people focused on refining AI.
Absolutely. One of my really good friends is a senior solutions architect, and he says that, AI writes beautiful code.
Mhm.
It doesn't function as written,
Mhm.
but he spends an hour tweaking it, and now it works.
Yeah.
And something that used to take him like 2 to 3 days,
Mhm.
now it takes him a couple of hours.
Mhm.
So it's a huge paradigm shift. But the challenge is that you still need to know the building blocks. You still need to understand what comprises the system that you're trying to address. If
Mhm.
you don't, and it's across the board, I see a lot of advertisements for AI-based marketing automation.
Mhm.
Okay, but if you don't know human psychology, then whatever you're doing with AI, you can't train it properly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Same thing with pretty much anything else.
Mhm. Yeah, 1000%. Make sure a human checks it always.
Right.
What systems do you feel like are going to be just unreplaceable no matter what?
Well, anything you do with your hands is going to be unreplaceable.
Hmm.
But beyond that, it's not that things are going to be irreplaceable. I think that the it will open up other ventures. So
Hmm.
for like a great example is when they first started putting automatic scanners in supermarkets. And a lot of people went uproar. They're like, "Oh, you're taking the jobs away from the kids that are they're cashiers." Like my very first job was a cashier in a supermarket when I was 14 years old.
Hmm.
Now you go to a supermarket and there is, if you have like less than 10 items, you go to an automatic scanner and you do it yourself. Target, Walmart have the same thing. But that means that people have slightly higher skills to do other things. Managing one cash register is a lot different than managing six or eight
Hmm.
or 10.
Yeah. Hmm.
Same thing with, like McDonald's has automated ordering systems now.
Hmm.
So now people are focusing on making the food and delivering the food to the client on time.
Yeah.
You have machines building cars. So people are focusing on, things that our machines cannot do. It's a
Hmm.
continuous change. It's been this continuous change for centuries.
Yeah.
It's just the next iteration of it.
Absolutely. That's a good point. That's a good way to look at it. When we talk about your clients, what does that look like as far as the AI that they're wanting to implement or maybe already have implemented, and maybe extra due diligence that you're needing to have and discuss with them, knowing that they're doing their own thing with AI?
Well, so that's the big challenge, right? There's a concept in cybersecurity called shadow IT, which is things that people put in their systems that general IT that is not even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
AI is one of them because AI runs in the context of a web browser most often.
Hmm.
You're not going to know what it is. And what people don't understand is what access AI is being given to systems.
Hmm.
So, for example, one of the things we do a lot of is securing Copilot
Hmm.
for Microsoft or securing Gemini for Google.
Hmm.
Because if you just let it be unobtrusive, they have access to your entire, whether it's Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace.
Hmm.
So that could be confidential information. You could, one very simple thing. We had a client that they said, I want Copilot. I'm just going to install it. No, don't do it. No, I just went ahead and got it and connected it. Okay. Called us in a panic because an intern used a Copilot search to find out everybody's salary. They
What?
can't access the employee files in the HR folder because that's restricted.
Uh-huh.
But Copilot can, and Copilot gave them the answer.
Wow, that's crazy. So yeah, that AI was not trained very well to get that
Well,
block.
not even that, but there are ways to secure it to say that, if somebody's like, there are ways that in Microsoft, for example, you can say, okay, if a person runs a query and the query needs to access files, you need to make sure that the person running the query has access to those files.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a training thing. It's like it's, basic security hygiene. But
Mm-hmm.
that means that you don't put things in play without somebody like us taking a look at it first. And
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, as we built up our client relationships, they've done that. So they ask us before they do anything else themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, these things happen. And as AI agents proliferate, it's going to keep happening more and more. There are a lot of tools out there that purport that they're able to track AI usage within the organization. But again, they themselves, I think the entire industry is ripe with opportunity, but it's also in a very, very nascent stage.
You're right.
But it will grow very quickly and very, it will permeate our culture to
Mhm.
things, to levels that we don't even understand ourselves yet.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. It's grown. I mean, I feel like even over this last 6 months, it's grown exponentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What, in your opinion, is the specific, application or solution that you think AI will benefit in the cybersecurity space?
Well, the most basic one is the your EDR, XDR software that protects your computer from viruses and malware. Another space is email security.
Mm-hmm.
AI can, like, we use AI-based solutions for our clients, and we have been for a while now,
Hmm.
that scan the emails not just for where they're coming from, but for the language inside them,
Yeah.
and then filter these things out. But again, the attacker always has the advantage, right? Because they know where they're going to strike. As a defender, you have to defend everything. So,
Absolutely. Good answer. Good answer. Well, what makes you excited for the rest of 2025 for your company and also just the industry in general?
um, I'm really curious how things are going to shake out. I think that within the MSP space, there's been tremendous growth.
Hmm.
There has also been tremendous M&A activity. You
Hmm.
know, managed services is a very recurring revenue focused business. So whether it's monthly or annually, which makes it very attractive for private equity.
Mm.
There has been a ton of activity over the last few years, and it's been increasing and increasing and increasing.
Hmm.
Also, the barrier for entry is very low. So new IT companies are popping up every day, which is excellent. At the same time, the I think a lot more regulation is necessary. People don't really understand how dangerous an IT company can be to an organization because, and we've seen this, like the SolarWinds hack from several years ago, the Kaseya hack from a few years ago, where IT companies are continuously under attack,
Hmm.
and a lot of them rely too much on the vendors they use,
Hmm.
and that creates a potential attack vector that nobody can really effectively defend against. From the Aegis perspective, we've started pushing and growing into the New England region. So I'm very excited about pushing further into it and growing further into it. We're also talking with several organizations to partner up and expand into Texas and North Carolinas.
Hmm.
So, I'm excited for the growth. I'm excited for the road ahead. Um, Again, it's one of those things, beware what you wish for. Every time we hit our next growth step or growth goal, I've realized that now I need to learn something else. So now I need to pivot and put in different processes, and it
Hmm.
takes time. So it's almost like you can't have growth that is linear. It's almost like a staircase, right? So you go up and then you stabilize, and you go up and you go stabilize. Um, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's very real, though. I mean, I think that that paints a very real picture of any growing company, but even more specifically in a complex industry like yours.
Yeah, and I think you know, growth problems, I don't think a lot of people realize, like, they see oh, I want to be, $1 million company, a $5 million company, whatever it is. And I don't think they understand what it means. And I don't think enough people ask themselves the question, can I do it? Can I run this size of organization? Because, when Aegis was just me and a couple of guys versus when Aegis was like 5 or 6 people, where we are right now, we're at about 15. And everything works well, we'll be around 25 next year. These are very different organizations. Once you hit like 20, 25 people, you need to start building out an executive team underneath you.
Hmm.
And you really need to start handing off control.
Hmm.
Now, us small business owners, control is the one thing we're absolutely loath to give up.
Uh-huh.
So, and it takes a lot of personal growth,
Uh-huh.
um, almost personal discipline,
Hmm.
So like one of the things I've been doing for the last 6 months is reading books on, people growing companies
Mhm.
and what was the difference. I've read Jack Welch's Straight from the Heart, and he was talking, reading about how he was talking about going from a chemist to a manager to a plant manager and
Mhm.
then to a GE executive, and how things changed from where he would come into work wearing jeans and a shirt. We're talking about the early 80s at this point, right? Or the late 70s. All of a sudden, he needs to wear business suits
Yeah.
and how he needs to plan his time differently. I mean, it's the same thing here.
Mhm.
Like, I have to, like, time planning, for example, I have to actually put time in my calendar to spend with my family. I have to
Mhm.
adjust my daily schedule to for my work-life balance.
Mhm.
Where, when I was at small organization, it was not as much of a concern because I had less things to do.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the realness there. I mean, I think that that's something that's not talked about enough, and it definitely goes with the space, especially a growing business owner that has a lot of passion for what you've obviously built. But a necessary evil is to begin to pass some of that off.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, tell me how people can reach out to you if they want to learn more about you or Aegis IT.
The easiest way is to either go on our website, aegisitsolutions.net. We are on LinkedIn. You can look me up on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm very much on social media. I'm very much available. I may take a little bit of time to respond, but I try to respond within a couple of days to everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ilya, for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Brent, for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye bye.